Hello everybody, this is the Knowledge Foundation for Unit 7. Knowledge Foundation video for Unit 7 going over teaching strategies and assessing student learning. There are three major concepts when we look at teaching strategies and what are they actually and what makes them work and how different strategies should be used for different purposes. So really understanding what is your goal and what you are planning and will help you choose your best strategy. So teaching strategies are what we call a pedagogical framework for how the professional teacher will deliver the content. Pedagogical is always kind of a word that throws people off, but it's the belief in how you do things, what you believe in, how you do it, and why you do it. So the meaning behind that. And so in knowing how and why to deliver these strategies will help us better build our instruction and content and meet standards as are needed. So part of doing this is understanding how do the strategies help us to assess student learning, as well as to collect data, not just any data, but purposeful data. So we want to make sure that we are doing that correctly. Obviously, this is not going to be a class where you learn the specific strategies, but it's just an intro to discuss what types of strategies are used. So we go over some of that, and in addition, we take a look at assessment, formative and summative assessment. Formative being the foundation of what we do when we're planning and delivering, and summative being the end term, the overarching assessment to know that they have met their goals. Our final discussion will be RTI or response to intervention. What do we do when we know that students haven't gain the knowledge they needed to gain, and how do we intervene and support that knowledge so that the child are progressing towards the goals and they're not falling behind. RTI has become very important right now with COVID because there was a huge slide, and in fact many standards were not met for many children, many of the TEKs, and so knowledge RTI is going to become very critical with some of that knowledge being lost due to COVID-19. You are watching the foundation video, so I'm assuming you see it. You won't see it on here because it's not been created as of yet. You can print and download chapter 12 and 13. I just realized they're not attached, but they will be by the time you are watching this. Complete your knowledge check for chapters 12 and 13. Complete your Unit 7 knowledge application assignment. Also complete your final PET project information gathering, which is really just a check-in. And then finally, all fieldwork is due at the end of this unit on November 23rd. So all this is due before the Monday before Thanksgiving. So the knowledge check is the same. A couple things that students in class did not realize. Ignore my dog. This can get moved. So if you're having trouble seeing it in a window, you can move it like this. A couple other people have talked about they don't access it as easily on the laptop as they do through the app. So if you're having trouble in the laptop, you can go through the app. Honestly, I've not had many people with issues, but just some advice from students who kind of problem solved any issues that they were having. Don't feel bad for him. He was being a little bit obnoxious, so I couldn't do the video. He'll be okay. I'm going to let him in when I'm done. Okay, the Unit 7 Knowledge Builder. Same old. For those of you that are in class, these won't all be there. But for those of you that are online, we'll be looking at Bloom's taxonomy, graphic organizers, scaffolding, very, very critical concept there, and then the top 10 teaching methods, since we're looking at strategies and methodologies this unit. And then finally, the knowledge application assignment is going to ask you to choose one of the teaching strategies that our textbooks goes over, which is lecture, questioning, discussion, role play, simulation, drama, and grouping. And I want you to discuss in detail how you would use this strategy in your classroom or how you have seen it implemented in the past. So you can talk about what would you do, or you can talk about something that you saw or experienced and want to go over how that was done. You do need to be specific and detailed in your answering. So number one is just literally listing which of the strategies you're talking about, just so I know and can have a better understanding. People often forget to put the strategy they're discussing in. Number 2 is how did or how did the teacher develop? So if you're asking in the future, that would be you yourself, or how did the teacher that you observed develop the observed strategy? So what, using elements of the following elements. So let's take lecture. So how did they adapt their lecture to the audience that they were teaching to? How did they maintain the students' focus during the lecture? How did they organize the lecture of the lesson? What did they do? Did they, use study guides or things like that to help guide students? What was the clarity of the material? How did they pace the lesson? So I want you to address all of those things. Number 3 is how would or were students with recognized learning disabilities, physical handicaps, or English learners included in classroom? Be specific. If they were not in the classroom, talk about how they could have been handled during the lesson that you are discussing. Don't just skip over that one. That's a big issue, and people do lose points for that. Number 4 is what methods will be or were used to communicate with parents with a lesson. If none, what could be used? And then number 5 is what classroom management techniques will be or were used to keep students organized, orderly, attentive on task, and academically productive. So kind of similar to number 2, but one is more so looking at it from the teaching side, and the other one was looking at from the classroom management student side to keep them actually in task. So what were the actual techniques put into place and how? Okay, so you're just choosing one. The last thing that you're going to do is give me a final check-in for your project completion. So this is due on December 7th from my online students, and for my face-to-face students, either the Tuesday or the Thursday after Thanksgiving, depending on your class dates. So, yeah. So, just give me a final check-in. And that is it, other than remember, all of your fieldwork is due. So, when you go to the materials page, you will see all the traditional. Now remember, for the non-traditional, so all of these have video assignments that preempt those actual assignments there. So if the video assignments are not completed, I will not grade your fieldwork portfolio assignments. You'll still receive a 0 on them. So even if you submit something for portfolio assignment 1, it will not be graded if the videos have not been completed. That is all. This leads us right up to Thanksgiving. I am working on opening Unit 8 probably within this week as well. So you kind of have everything up. Unit 8 includes your final project, a reflection piece. For those in class, the Knowledge Builder will be responding to your students, your fellow students' projects in class. For those of you online, it'll be posting your projects or video links and responding to a couple in a discussion format to several students in order to receive the points. So, but I will hopefully get that open because that is wrapping us up for the semester, and that way you have everything from now to the end of the year. So have a great unit, and I will talk to you later.